You know Gray Bar for electrical parts, but there's one more thing you may not be thinking of us for that can help maximize your next project's total value. Our pre-project planning services are designed to help you win the bid, save on labor costs, and keep your installers productive across your entire build. The sooner you call us, the better. Because when we're there from the beginning, we can anticipate your needs and help you solve problems before they become problems. Yep, Gray Bar does that.
The first off-season 2025-26 edition of the Show Before the Show podcast. We're jumping right in. 2 feet full bore, 2 feet full, straight out of the boat, 2 feet in the water. We're jumping in. I don't know how I led myself into a phrase and I didn't know the phrase to complete the thought. Hey, welcome into this week's episode of the Show Before the Show podcast, the official podcast of minor league baseball. Tyler Mon, Sam Dykstra, Benjamin Hill. Fellas, what's going on? How are things? The minor league season is in the books. Are you just relaxing, doing nothing as people always assume? No, you're not. What's going on?
No, I mean, we're in this little bit of a lull of a week right now for minor league news, obviously coming off the end of the season. And then the Arizona Fall League starts next week for me. And Ben, you're going on the road yourself. I'll be in Arizona in a week and a half. You'll be in Indianapolis.
Yeah, I'll be in Indianapolis for the Minor League Baseball Business Summit, an industry event, just like the old days. I used to go to 2 industry events a year, but only been to one since COVID. So looking forward to seeing the industry. And I'll probably have some content from that, but we'll get into that later.
Yeah, so if anybody's thinking we're podcasting under a palm tree right now with our feet up and deep into a hammock, that's not quite exactly how the offseason starts for us.
They can't see, and I could tell them that you are, and they would be none the wiser. So
this is when you just add seagulls to the
exactly.
background of the audio. Yeah, okay.
Sure. I think it's weird too, because it used to be we would have a few weeks before the start of the Arizona Fall League. Now you just jump right into it. We already have a logo update for a team for 2025. We've got more, obviously, changes and rebrands and everything else coming, but there is no rest for the weary.
And I appreciate that they do this, if only for this podcast, that it just allows us to keep things moving. And every week, we sit down and think like, oh, what are we going to talk about this week? And it's just like, oh, here's 5 things that have appeared. Because the minor league wheel keeps on turning. And speaking of that, Tyler, I mean, we should talk about how the minor league season actually came to a close. And there's nobody I can think of better to ask the question about it, how exactly it came to a close in Las Vegas last Saturday in the Triple-A National Championship between Jacksonville and Las Vegas. Las Vegas playing as the road team, which is, I'm sure, a little awkward, but especially given how it ended. And I kind of want you to cut into last week when we previewed the game. And I asked you, do you have any idea how you're going to call the final out? There was no final out. Why is that, Tyler?
Yeah, it was, it was a wild one. Jacksonville, congratulations to the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp, Triple-A national champions for the first time in franchise history. They were International League champions and champions at a Triple-A level for the first time since 1968. Of course, Jacksonville had been the Suns. They had been in Double-A for a long time in the Southern League, but recently moved back to Triple-A in 2019, I believe, as members of the International League. And, so they ended one long title drought, and it looked for 8 innings on Saturday night in Las Vegas that they were going to end another one, and they were going to do so pretty easily, taking on, as you noted, the visiting Las Vegas Aviators at their home ballpark. They finished with the lower overall winning percentage of the 2 teams involved in the Triple-A National Championship game. So the Aviators were the visiting team who went into the 9th inning down 6-2. Only 8 teams in Major League history in 2025, Major League history in 20. Only 8 teams in the Major Leagues this year won a game in which they rallied from being down at least 4 or more going into the 9th inning. And you think to yourself, well, obviously nothing crazy like that is going to happen here. And it all immediately happened. So Vegas rallied from a 6-2 deficit to take a 7-6 lead in the top of the 9th inning on a go-ahead home run. And that was the first of the wild moments in the ninth inning. They came back. The weirdest thing about it, a home run that puts the Aviators in the lead on their home field, but was not a walk-off home run. And Brian Lavastida, who's in the heart of the Las Vegas lineup, one of the older guys, one of the veteran guys in the lineup, who is still just 26 years old, but formerly a Cleveland draft selection, now in the Marlins organization, steps up, crushes a 3-run homer to give his team the lead off of, by the way, Marlins prospect Robbie Snelling, who is pitching out of the bullpen for the first time in his professional life, and immediately squandered the lead. Las Vegas took the lead. We had a sellout crowd, 10,129 at Las Vegas Ballpark. They were going nuts, and you thought, man, what a script for these folks. But now they have to try to watch their team close out this game. This isn't a walk-off win. We go to the bottom of the ninth, and Jacksonville turns it around almost immediately, and they got a 2-run homer from the former 6th overall pick in the draft, Jacob Berry, who was taken number 6 overall back in 2022, and has had, kind of an up and down road in his professional career ever since then. But Jacob Berry steps up and just demolishes a game-winning home run to rally from a 7-6 deficit to an 8-7 win. And before the ball had even landed beyond the right center field fence, the Jacksonville bullpen had flung open the gate from right center field, and they were sprinting out onto the field to get into the celebration. It was a crazy way to end it, but man, what a fun game.
Yeah, there are several things I like about that homer, and the fact that the minor league season ended on a walk-off is just too poetic. It's amazing when that happens. Also, your call of it was note perfect, both in terms of the... No, I really enjoyed it. I mean, it was celebratory in all the right ways. You could feel the energy.
Do this. I made him do it.
He said this same thing verbatim in the office.
I did. It's true. I keep repeating it every day I walk into the office, and I'm like, "Do you guys see the no perfect call from Tyler Mon?" I also loved Jim Callis, who's one of our colleagues, reacting like as undertones to you at the same time.
Yeah.
And it's just his astonishment, like escaping his mouth.
Because that ball was hit so hard and it was so loud. And we had just watched the craziest top of the ninth. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, we're going to do this again? We're going to do this for a walk-off? And it was to a similar spot in the ballpark. It's over that, the very well-known pool that they have out in right center field in Las Vegas. It was amazing, man. It was a very cool finish. Yeah, big ups to Jim Callis and to Sandy Charles, who was our field reporter on Saturday, to Keith Costas, who was our producer. We had so much fun. And big congratulations to both those teams. I mean, I know it doesn't end the way that Vegas wanted it to, but Vegas has a whole lot to be proud of, especially with what they were able to do in the second half of the season. They had such an impressive roster in the first half. They started the year with Nick Kurtz, with Denzel Clark. They had big names on that team to start the season. And then in the second half, they were really, really up and down. So a pretty amazing second half for Las Vegas, and a big congratulations to them. But Jacksonville, talking with Scott Kornberg, who's the radio guy of the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp, he just said, this is one of those teams. And when you've worked around sports for a long time, this is not always the case, and maybe it's rarely the case. But he said, this is one of those teams that every day I can't wait to get to the ballpark to watch what this team is going to do that night, because they're just so much fun to be around. They're such a good group of guys, and they always have something exciting in store. And he texted me the day after and was like, hey, man, I told you something fun was going to happen. So big congratulations to the old Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp. First time ever Triple-A national champion. So we're done with the minor league postseason, as wild as that is, in 2025. And that brings us to this week's edition of Ben's Biz Banter, presented by Circle K, the official convenience store of minor league baseball. And with the 2025 season in the books, somewhat hard to believe that we're already talking about off-season stuff. But before we get into off-season stuff, we do have one final edition of Crooked Numbers for the 2025 season. Always one of my favorite things to discuss. And Ben, let's hear it.
Yeah, I'll have reports from some of my ballpark visits coming out for the next several weeks, month plus for sure. So the season's not over for me in that regard. But this is the last Crooked Numbers of the season. Obviously, the last time I'll have a chance to highlight the oddities and absurdities of minor league baseball. And, we're transitioning to this Crooked Numbers discussion. It's a monthly column. After talking about the Triple-A National Championship game, because I led the column with that nugget about the Triple-A Championship game. Don't have to repeat what Tyler said, but how often does a team get walked off in its home ballpark? And pretty an amazing and weird sequence of events to end the season. And it was really cool that game had some drama and had people talking, because I think sometimes by virtue of being one game, being on the cusp of the Major League Baseball postseason, by
Being a
playing
neutral
in a
site,
ballpark
yeah.
site, it just feels kind of anticlimactic a lot of years where we talk it up and then it's just kind of a shrug. And this one was really cool not to see that. But I digress. I won't go through this whole crooked numbers column, but a few other weird things that happened in the month of September. Shout out to my Durham Bulls designated eater, Larry Lefebvre, who got in touch with me about this one because I had totally missed it and I didn't see it on any of the social platforms. But September 4th, Gwinnett Stripers and Durham Bulls. If you look at the game day count of this game, you'll see that in the bottom of the fifth inning, Gwinnett's Connor Capel, it says in game day, he singled on a sharp fly ball to right fielder Cameron Misner. 2 runs scored on the play, while Capel was ruled out at second, with Durham first baseman Cooper Hummel getting credit for the putout. So you see that in game day, and you think like, all right, this guy had a 2-run single. He got thrown out trying to stretch into a double. It makes sense. But what really happened was Capel's single cleared the right field fence, was a home run, but he passed the runner on first, Jonathan Ornelas. What would I do with that, Sam? He passed Ornelas on the bases because Ornelas thought that the ball would be caught and retreated to first base. So I always like when this kind of thing happens. This dude is in his home run trot while you have a runner, meanwhile, running back to first, thinking the ball's going to be caught. And he just barely passes him. I mean, it was like a real judgment call. And Capel got ejected from the game after being ruled out. But that's really, I understand why. I mean, even if it was the correct call by the letter of the law, you just literally hit a home run over the fence. And then all of a sudden you're out and it's a single. But I always find it funny because that's correct in game day as far as it goes. But I find it funny when you're just looking at these more, not automated, but just standardized accounts of a play-by-play log, how there's certain things that you just can't get into and those things sneak by. And the fact that that was a secret home run that wasn't, is a good story. What else do we got here? I won't go into too much. Did we talk about Brandon Bidwell?
I don't think we have on this podcast.
Yeah, I believe that we were waiting until the streak came to a close.
Yeah, I mean, he had an amazing season. This native of Australia, over 4 teams. So he pitched for every team in the Pirates system this year. And he went 8-0 with a 0.74 ERA over all 4 levels. So, one, it's pretty rare to play for all 4 levels in one season. It happens, but it's pretty rare. You know, as a guy who pays attention to the Phillies, I remember Ryan Kirkering did that a few years back. And
Trey Savage did it this year for the Blue Jays.
Year. So that wouldn't be notable in and of, it's notable, but I wouldn't put that in this column in and of itself. This guy played for all 4 levels. But what I thought was interesting is that he recorded a win at each of the 4 levels, and he recorded no losses on the year. So can we confirm this? This is one of many questions. I'm like, I wish we could just have some research database and be like, has a pitcher ever gone undefeated at all at 4 levels of a team's minor league system?
I have no way of knowing. I mean, especially for a reliever like him. I mean, that could be the amount of minimums we would have to set to find all of this.
Yeah.
Well, and the other crazy thing is, like, it could have happened back in 1932, but it was at 4 levels that were like the Class D and the Class BC. But then he was also a Double-A, and you're like, what is this?
Yeah, and this major league team had like 11 teams in the system. Right. Yeah, things get really crazy really quick. But he started this, and he worked his way up in order. Obviously, started with Single-A Bradenton, appeared in 1 game, but he got the win. So little did he know, for him to make history, that 1 appearance in Bradenton had to go right with getting the win. Then 2-0 over 16 appearances with High A Greensboro, 4-0 over 14 with Altoona, and then 1-0 over the course of 9 scoreless outings with Triple-A Indianapolis. So I thought that was just he obviously had a very dominant season. Sam's looking up his no-hit streak. Yeah, 18 innings.
Yeah, that Tyler mentioned, like, we were saving it for the time that his streak came to an end. And at one point he had a hitless streak going in the Pirates system. And that went 18 innings. He didn't allow a hit from July 29th until September 14th. So 18 hitless innings across 11 relief appearances, each between 3 and 6 outs. So this wasn't him coming in and getting like one batter at the end of the inning and being like, oh, that's a hitless appearance. It's like, no. It was multi-innings almost every time. So, or at least multiple outs every single time. So yeah, lots to dive into here with Brandon Boudoir.
Yeah, and the fact that he wasn't really a top prospect and he had that kind of season, and then looking him up and writing this little tidbit, I remember seeing this actually earlier in the year. But when he was with Greensboro, they did a video with him selling tickets one day in full uniform, recording his interactions with fans who would walk up to the ticket booth for game day tickets, and they had this Australian reliever, and he just seemed like such a likable guy. And I was like, all right, I'm going to root for this guy from now on. Had a season where he just truly busted out, didn't have a huge name in, prospect circles. I call them Dykster circles. And,
anybody who doesn't get ranked is my fault.
Yeah. And then a final thing about him is he played in the minor leagues in 3 previous seasons in which he went 0-0, 3-0, and 0-5. Then he went 8-0 in this season. So he's never had a season in which he recorded a win and a loss in the same season. I know wins and losses, we don't pay attention to them as much as we used to, but I just found that interesting about good old Brandon Boudoir. And the final thing I'll mention that is in this month's Crooked Numbers column, which you can read if you subscribe to my newsletter, The Baseball Traveler, and it'll be on MiLB.com as well. But it's not an annual tradition as much as I think it should be, but on the last day of the season, it's not totally uncommon for a player to play all 9 positions in a game. This year, Levi Jordan of the Louisville Bats had that honor. And interesting thing about that, in addition to it just being interesting when you play all 9 innings, is that
all 9 positions.
All 9 positions. Yeah. Wow. Did you hear about the guy who played all 9 innings in a game?
We have not gotten to that point. We don't need to be blaming Gen Z for not playing all 9 innings.
Today's players can't even play 9 innings. No, he played 9 different positions, all 9 positions. And he, of course, pitched. He took the loss. He still has a 0 ERA. So to do that all in the same game is pretty hard to pitch and take the loss, not allow a run. He took them out in the 8th inning with the game tied 4-4. I mean, let's talk about a pressure-packed situation in which you're kind of doing a quirky thing on the last day of the season. He allowed a single, recorded a ground out, and then the next batter reached on an error, at which point he shifted back to third base. And, those runs scored, and he was the pitcher of record because then in the 9th, he caught the game, and he was catching another position player pitching, Eric Yang. He's usually a catcher. And this position player battery allowed 5 runs to score. So maybe not the way you would draw it up, but interesting to play all 9 positions, take the loss, have a 0 ERA, and be the catcher catching another position player who then lets the game get out of hand in the 9th inning. So good way to close the season. Minor league baseball, everybody.
I mean, I appreciate that they put in a position player to pitch that he could catch, because that's just asking for injury. Like you come in and you got somebody throwing 94, 95, and you're just like, we'll see. At least I'm sure it was just ephus pitches all the way in.
Yeah, and the 5 runs scored. Whatever team they're playing, who is it?
One day we're gonna have to do
natural sounds.
We're gonna have to do some sort of dive as to why the ephus pitch has become the thing for position players pitching. I mean, I guess it's more likely that like we all saw Nick Kurtz swing and miss at like the 35-mile-an-hour ephus pitch that he got this year. And every once in a while you see it. But like these guys are athletes. I'm not expecting them to go up there and sling 94, but like I think they'd go up there and like you're playing catch, you're gonna try to, throw, I don't know, 75 on the outside part of the plate? Or is that just gonna get crushed and that's the reason why?
I think it's a lot harder for professional hitters to
adjust to just like here comes
hit
a
41 mile an hour pitch as it is to hit something.
Here comes the Henry Rowan Gardner. The Henry Rowan Gardner.
Yeah, well, you both hit my 2 theories on this.
Yeah.
One was that I heard somebody talked about this the other day. It's like if you're not going to throw 92, 93, you should throw like sub bat speed.
Yeah,
and that just throws them off completely.
Which makes sense.
Slow down to the pitch. Yeah. But my other thing is it's just the rookie of the year.
Yeah, floated.
The tale of the rookie of the year. It's influence and how everybody's like, hey, if it worked for Rowan Gardner, why can't it work for me?
Henry Rowan Gardner, Mom name Mary. That's right. Mary was his mom's name. Forgot. All right, guys. You guys were both on the big show on Monday. Minor League Baseball Awards Show Monday night on MLB Network. I have it recorded. I have not yet watched, but I was aware of some of the winners and the wheelers and dealers, including some shock wins, some surprise wins. Ben, a recap of the Minor League Baseball Awards Show, if you will.
Yeah, well, a non-player focused recap. I mean, one, you can check out my own award show within the award show in that broadcast, or now that it has been broadcast, you can find the video on MiLB.com. So that gave me a chance to highlight things like Jay Sparkle, a woman who's on roller skates throughout the course of every Hub City Spartan Burgers game, and she gave out burger-related jewelry on a safety pin. Just like goofy things like that. I highlighted goofy things throughout the minor leagues in that segment, so check it out, and I'll probably do a article component of it in the near future as well to highlight some of the quirky, unique things I saw at a minor league baseball ballpark in the year 2025. Also, the award that's near and dear to my heart, Best Alternate Identity. We had 7 finalists in that category, and remember, it has to be Best New Alternate Identity, an alternate identity that debuted this year, and the Erie Moon Mammoths were one of the finalists, and there was some debate whether we should even include the Erie Moon Mammoths in this category because that wasn't created by the team. It was created, of course, by the John Oliver and the staff at his Last Week Tonight show on HBO, and got so much publicity. We thought if we put the Erie Moon Mammoths in here, they're going to win. This is up for a fan vote, and people are going to vote for the Moon Mammoths. Or if there's any sort of campaign, or if John Oliver mentions it, or whatever the case may be, it's just going to be the Erie Moon Mammoths. This has been the year of the Erie Moon Mammoths when it comes to minor league baseball alternate identities. But all of this is a prelude, a preamble for the fact that there was an upset. That in alternate identities, like life, you cannot predict what is going to happen. And the winner of the Best Alternate Identity Award, chosen by a fan vote, was the Barkansas Dizzies. The Arkansas Travelers Barkansas Dizzies Award, or they won for Best Alternate Identity. And of course, this award, so I clicked on the wrong link, I know it anyway, is that the Travelers have a guy named Greg Johnston who has worked for the team for 50 years in stadium operations, maintaining the ballpark. And he has an 8-year-old English cream retriever, Dizzy, who he brings to the ballpark and who he would set up with on the concourse, who would greet fans and sign pawtographs, which is just like a literal paw print, like on an ink stamp. And Dizzy became the most famous most famous individual being at a Travelers game the last couple of years, a real icon of the team. And paying tribute to Dizzy, the team played an entire homestand as the Barkansas Dizzies. So they had the good pun on Arkansas in addition to Dizzies. It was successful for them, but it was more of a local thing. But, people love dogs, and you don't know what happens when you open things up to an online vote because people can vote as many times as they want. So looks like the Travelers front office staff and their fans really got involved in that, and they were psyched. They were really psyched to win that. And, it's a great alternate identity in that it tells a local story specific to that team. And, people love dogs. So it's the Barkansas Dizzies, and they join this is the 3rd year we've done the MiLB Awards. So they join the Amarillo Calf Fries and the Jersey Diners.
That's a strong list.
Yeah.
And Tyler, I think you called out the Dizzies as like we all basically picked the Moon Mammoths, but you said Dizzies was your number 2.
Yeah, we figured Moon Mammoths was the odds-on favorite, but I pulled the Dewey defeats Truman on the Dizzies, I guess. And congratulations to the Barkansas Dizzies. Very cool. Adorable name, logo, everything else. Dizzy forever. Ben, continuing along, this is, as strange as it is, the start to what we used to call Logo-vember, and now I guess we might have to back up to like Low-Geptember. We already have teams with new looks for 2025, including the all-new look for the Indianapolis Indians, who have been around in Indianapolis since 1902. This is a very retro heritage-based theme, but there are also some modern things. They consulted with tribes in Indiana. They designed a whole bunch of different elements into these looks. Tell us about this new visual look for the Indianapolis franchise.
Yeah, I mean, we are in Logovember in September so far. I mean, we already talked about the Ontario Tower Buzzers, who in September, announced their identity. There'll be a new team in the California League replacing the Modesto Nuts as part of a larger series of affiliation changes within the California League. And now we have the Indianapolis Indians, truly one of the minor leagues, or one of all of professional sports' most venerable franchises. I believe that in minor league baseball, the only team that has operated consecutively for longer than Indianapolis is the Rochester Red Wings, who go back to like 1899. But the Indianapolis Indians, and Rochester didn't have that Red Wings name in 1899. The Indianapolis Indians have played as the Indianapolis Indians since 1902. So their previous logo featured a red Native American style mask, and they had used that for the last couple decades. That came after an era in which they used the kind of Indian style branding that of course would not be used today, but the more explicit kind of cartoonish stereotypes in some of the other iterations in other decades. And I know there has been talk through the years, especially in the wake of the Cleveland Indians changing the Guardians, whether to change the name, but Indianapolis decided to keep the Indians name. And I'd say the new look, has a lot going on. It's a very classic look in terms of paying homage to the fact they've been around for over 120 years. So it's got a timeless kind of throwback aesthetic to it, but not too much in the way of, referencing Native Americans specifically. I think their tact here was to, as they put it in the press release, to pay homage to its early 1900s baseball heritage. And the club's role is, quote, Indy's original home team. I don't know why I said quote just for that, because that whole sentence I read was so they've got a lot going on in all of this, which, this is a long time this franchise has been around. So part of the new look is the black letter, the stylized eye in the center of the logo. And it says it creates a visual bridge between the two legacies that help shape the identity of Indianapolis and baseball's role in the city. The first baseball game played between two professional teams was held on May 4th, 1871 in Fort Wayne, Indiana, when the Fort Wayne Kekiangas defeated the Cleveland Forest Cities 2-0. So they are that eye in the primary logo is referencing the first game ever played professionally.
Because the Fort Wayne team had a black letter K.
Yeah.
So this is kind of a callback to that. And Ben, you and I have actually been to that site in Fort Wayne.
We did, along with Tin Cap's broadcaster. Well, now he's with the WNBA's Indiana Fever.
Yeah.
John Nolan. Yeah, we went to the site of that first game in Fort Wayne. So that black letter I is shouting out the first professional game ever played in the state of Indiana back in 1874. And on it goes. It has elements that pay tribute to like the 80s era Indianapolis Indians. It has a lot going on. I don't even know what to focus on, but they did a lot of work on this. I think they were sensitive to the fact of still being the Indianapolis Indians, so they're very on message with who they were, what they were doing. They worked with the Miami Nation of the Indians of Indiana on consultation on this, because I think they realized, obviously this is something that has a little more scrutiny than a usual minor league baseball new logos. But it's a classic look. I mean, I think it looks pretty sharp, and
it looks like something they would have had for decades.
Yeah, and I think that's the point. Like this is something that you could have for decades. It's something that draws back to 19th century baseball, and it incorporates different elements throughout a very, very long minor league baseball run for the city of Indianapolis. I mean, 1902 to now, to operate consecutively in the same city with the same team name is remarkable. I mean, Rochester's up there. Buffalo Bisons go back to the 19th century, but that they haven't operated consecutively. There's been different iterations and chunks of time without a team. But when you want to look for total and complete longevity in minor league baseball with team name, city, everything. Indianapolis is way up there.
Well, speaking of Indianapolis, you are headed to Indianapolis. As noted, the Minor League Baseball Business Summit is coming up. People have heard of, we used to have the promo seminar, as noted, the winter meetings, all of that. Tell us about the Business Summit.
Yeah, there was the promo seminar in minor league baseball for decades, I believe going back to the 80s when that started. It was initially something started by Jim Paul in El Paso that started as an informal end of season gathering among minor league executives that over the decades became a formalized event. Then when Major League Baseball took over minor league baseball, they've kind of brought back aspects of the promo seminar and a annual business summit event. And this will be the third business summit, the first one I've attended. But it's, a lot of roundtables and discussions and speeches and seminars related to things regarding the operation of a minor league baseball franchise. I'm looking forward to going just because I haven't had as many opportunities in recent years to go to industry events, which is just a good opportunity for me to reestablish connections with people all over the industry and to meet some new people because, a lot of changes in this industry over the last 5 years. And I don't feel as deeply rooted in it as I used to, just with so much staff turnover and not having been at as many industry events and getting old. Sometimes I talk to people and I'm like, oh yeah, this person's like literally half my age. Oh boy.
Well, I also appreciate just the timing of it. I mean, we saw some people from Hudson Valley and Somerset at the MiLB Awards show, and it seemed like everybody was kind of in that, like, okay, let's reset after the season. We're trying to figure out what we've learned. So everybody does that off on their own over these past couple of weeks, and then they gather not until you're not waiting until January or February. It's very much in the early stages of planning for 2026, where everybody can get together, share what they've learned, take that away, and go back home early in the offseason. I think that works out pretty well for timing.
Yeah, the timing has always been about that this is everything about the season that just happened is still fresh, and you have time when you learn things at this event. And I believe it won't be as massive as the old winter meetings trade show back in the day, but there's a trade show and some vendors. So yeah, good chance while you still have time, because, a lot of people listening to this know you have to play them for the next season, starting very early in the off season. And
in some cases, years before.
Yeah. And in some cases, when it comes to, specific logos and getting the hats done by New Era and everything, sometimes years before. So even though on one hand, you've got a nice chunk of off season stretching before you and certainly enough time to plan certain things, there's other things that need to be thought of and taken care of now, or at least to get the proverbial ball rolling right now in order for these things to be seen or felt or heard or whatever the case may be at the ballpark in 2026.
All right, guys. Well, before we wrap up this segment, a major league news item, but something that has a lot of minor league connections in a very unique way. Brian Snitker has stepped away from his managerial roles in Atlanta and transitioned to a front office advisory position. But he spent, and this is, one of those baseball things that I'm not sure we'll ever see again. 49 seasons in that same organization, starting as a player, and he managed 10 teams in the minor league system before going to Atlanta. This, we were in the huge wave of just young guys, former players, first-time managers, all getting jobs. And then Atlanta kind of went with a different tact and hired Brian Snitker. They were rewarded with the World Series, but hiring an old school baseball guy kind of went against the grain when he was hired. But this is so interesting. 49 years in the same organization, and to have that many minor league managerial stops, most people just become a minor league manager at that point. Brian Snitker had been on the major league staff, became a major league manager, obviously had tremendous success. But this is kind of I don't want to say a dying breed in baseball, but we're in such a transitional era that stories like this don't seem that common anymore.
No. And it's been fascinating too, to think about like where he was at the start when they hired him. It kind of felt like he was just going to be a stopgap, right? Like they were very much in the middle of a rebuild there in Atlanta. You think about rebuilding teams now. A decade ago, Atlanta was very much in the thick of that process. So you reward somebody who's been with the organization for a long time. You get them major league time. But also you think, well, he has been in this system for a long time. So like the guys we're trying to build around for a long period here have at least been around SNIT. And that's what everybody calls them. It's SNIT. So there's some familiarity there too. Maybe that breeds some success. And look how quickly it happened. I mean, by 2018, 2016 is when he started managing with the Braves. 2018, they go 90-72. It happened fairly quick, and he earned the right to stay around as long as he has on the major league side. Now, this was his age 69 season. Obviously was not successful in the way of getting to the postseason, or what I think a lot of people were hopeful that they were going to be much more in the mix with the Phillies, the Mets, even the Marlins this year in the NL East. That didn't work out, but like, it's really cool. This was Ben's idea to throw this in there just because the amount of minor league teams he had it's not like he had been with Gwinnett or before that Richmond when Richmond was a Triple-A. He started managing Anderson,
South Carolina, in the South Atlantic League in 1982.
Was he the manager of the Gilmore Girls guy? Because I just saw that story.
He might have been.
It's very possible.
Gilmore Girls played in the minor leagues.
I'll research that while Ben is telling more about.
Okay. I mean, to me, it's just like when we were talking about Brandon Benoit earlier. Like, is there a way to find out if someone has gone undefeated at 4 different levels before? I don't know. I wish we had some magic research tool to be like, has anyone managed this many teams in one organization's minor league system? Of course, Snicker dates back to an era when there was more teams in the system and shorter affiliation agreements, so things bounced around a little bit more. But he managed in the Braves minor league system from 1982 to 2016. 2016 was the year in which he started with Gwinnett and then went over to the Braves during that season. But he managed for Anderson, South Carolina, and pretty much all these teams are named the Braves, not all, but Anderson Braves in the South Atlantic League, 1982. Durham Bulls, back when they were in the Carolina League, 83-84. The Sumter Braves in the Sally League in 1986. The Macon Braves, also in the Sally League. This is 3 different locations just in the South Atlantic League. Macon in 1992. Danville in the Appy League in 1996. And I'm skipping places that he went back to that I've said already. But Myrtle Beach in 99 through 2001. The Pelicans. Greenville in the Southern League in 2002, 3, and 4. The Mississippi Braves in 2005. The Richmond Braves in Triple-A in 2006. And then again in 2014 and 15. And then 2014 and 15, it was Gwinnett then. So these are 10 different minor league franchises that he managed in the Braves system. And then he also played for Kingsport, Richmond, Savannah, Greenwood, Kinston, and Durham. So he played for 6 minor league teams in the Braves system, went on to manage 2 of them. But between teams he played for in the Braves system and teams he managed, he either played for or managed 14 different teams in the Braves system, which just seems impossible.
And my other favorite part of his story is that, so he was a catcher in the organization and the team was about to cut him, but instead of cutting him, they offered him a job as a coach where he was just going to be throwing BP and hitting fungos. But the person who offered him that job was Hank Aaron, who at the time was the Braves farm director, which is
Not a bad person to have that connection with.
I mean, if Hank Aaron believes in you, I would be like through the roof. I would just be like, I can do anything.
Not much cooler.
Hank Aaron believes in me.
Accomplish than that.
Yeah, that's from Mark Bowman's story on Snicker stepping down, and Mark Bowman is as tied into what's going on with the Braves as anybody in the world. So I highly encourage you to read that in terms of just Brian Snicker's road to getting here in the first place, and how he's already going into the Braves Hall of Fame. So this is not something where it's just like, oh, his career's over, let's celebrate. No, the celebrations are going to spill into 2026 as they should.
Yeah. And so listeners, if you know of anyone who has managed more teams in one organization, please let us know.
14 combined teams.
Played for and managed
and
for 14
and 10
and managed 10
teams. Insane. Unbelievable. And a big congratulations to Brian Snicker on a life in baseball that will continue with his advisory role in the front office in Atlanta. Pretty cool stuff. That is Benjamin Hill. This week's edition of Ben's Biz Banter, as always, brought to you by Circle K, the official convenience store of minor league baseball. And Ben, we'll catch you a little while later on.
All right, catch you on the flippity flop, guys.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. Stop waiting around for the perfect candidate. Instead, use Indeed sponsored jobs to find the right people with the right skills fast. It's a simple way to make sure your listing is the first candidates see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs have 4 times more applicants than non-sponsored jobs. So go build your dream team today with Indeed. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Hi, everybody. It's Sam and just Sam for this on-field chatter segment. As we've mentioned, even though it's the first week of the offseason, there's still plenty to do for all on this show. So the other guys had to split. I just wanted to come in and talk about a few things about prospects, as I do every week on the show, because there are 2 items I feel like we should address here. The first one is that MLB Pipeline, as of late Thursday night, we updated the top 100 prospect ranks. This is what we normally call a market correction. It's not a full re-rank. We didn't vote 1 to 100 all over again and mix up the list. We did re-vote on the top 15. And then outside of that, we moved players we thought were deserving up or down 10 or more spots. In some cases, it was much more than 10 spots. In some cases, it was exactly 10 spots. And then there were some players we felt weren't top 100 worthy anymore. We moved them off the list. Then we saw how many holes we had left, and we filled them with other prospects. It's just a way of keeping things fresh. But also, we do that in-season update in August, and then the minor league season keeps happening, or the major league season keeps happening. And we get more data on these guys. We get to see them at new levels and how they tackle that and how they're still working on things, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so we try to give that one more sprucing up going into the offseason, especially with the Arizona Fall League starting next week. We wanted more accurate rankings on those guys. We'll do another revamp as we always do in the offseason. This is not that. We're going to do another version fully revoted on. I think we normally do that around January. But for now, this is just a little sprucing up, again, a market correction. So I'll just run down the top 15 here real quick. Not a huge amount of change in the top 15. I will say that, except for one that I'll highlight here in a bit. But at number 1, Connor Griffin, shortstop / outfielder of the Pittsburgh Pirates. He was number 1 before, remains number 1 again. Kevin McGonigal at number 2, Detroit Tigers shortstop prospect. He is going to the AFL. So it's very rare and very exciting that we are getting the number 2 overall prospect in the minor leagues going to the Arizona Fall League. Can't wait to get there, see more of him myself. I'll be there for 2 weeks. And also just seeing what the best hit tool in minor league baseball can do in a very hitter-friendly environment in the desert. At number 3 is Leo DeVries of the Athletics, shortstop prospect. You might remember him as the big acquisition at the deadline in the deal for Mason Miller, the guy who threw 104 the other day on the black against the Cubs. But he remains at number 3 after really turning it on late in the season at Double-A Midland, carrying that into the Texas League postseason, only 18 years old, and continues to show why first the Padres, now the A's, have been super aggressive with him early in his career. Number 4, my guy, if you've been listening to the show for a long time, Jesus Made, middle infield prospect for the Milwaukee Brewers. Number 5 is J.J. Weatherholt, infield prospect for the St. Louis Cardinals. Number 6 is Sebastian Walcott of the Texas Rangers, shortstop / third base prospect. So yes, that means each of our top 6 overall prospects right now are shortstop or shortstop adjacent prospects, guys who are playing short now are more likely to move off the position. I wrote in the MLB Pipeline newsletter this week that I would set the over-under at 2.5 of who is going to stick at shortstop long-term out of that group of 6. So check this space back in a few years, see if you should have taken the over or the under on that. Number 7 is Samuel Basayo, a catcher / first baseman of the Baltimore Orioles, somebody who debuted in the majors this year but is yet to graduate. Number 8 is Max Clark of the Detroit Tigers. So the Tigers have 2 top 8 overall prospects. Number 9 is Colt Emerson, a shortstop / third baseman for the Seattle Mariners, climbed to Triple-A at the very end of the year. Kind of made some waves this week. He got to participate in a scrimmage for the Seattle Mariners. There's a very cool picture online, if you check Twitter, of Colt Emerson and Ichiro Suzuki in the field at the same time, because Ichiro was kind of plugged into right field. just to take up some space and catch some balls out there. But very much the future and very much the past of the Seattle Mariners on one field. Very cool there. Number 10 is Walker Jenkins of Minnesota Twins. Number 11, and here's our big jumper into the top 15. It's Nolan McLean, New York Mets right-handed pitching prospect. Still technically prospect eligible. If you were following the Mets down the stretch, Nolan McLean basically became their ace because his stuff was exceptional. He's got that sinker that moves really well arm side and is in the mid-90s. He's got that sweeper that breaks really well glove side. And he's got that curveball that is the highest spin rate of any pitch in Major League Baseball. He also has worked on a changeup. He's got a cutter. He's got a four-seamer. Plethora of pitches for Nolan McLean to work with. The control at the major league level is better than it's been. He's somebody who clearly has an upward trajectory. Now we're moving him up. He was at number 36. He's up to number 11. And you might note this if you haven't already. He is the top pitching prospect in baseball. That's what we've reflected here because the package of pitches is so good. The control is so good. And normally we're not talking about ranking prospects who have this much major league success already under the belts. With the Major League regular season over and the Mets season obviously over, he will not graduate. So he's going to be a very quick graduate, assuming he stays healthy through the spring and makes the Mets rotation as many of us expect. But for now, he is still very much rookie eligible, prospect eligible, going to be talked about a lot in rookie of the year circles next year for the National League. So that's number 11. Number 12, Bryce Eldridge of the San Francisco Giants, first base prospect. Somebody else got a little cup of coffee with the Giants late. Josue DePaula, Los Angeles Dodgers outfield prospect, comes in at number 13. Bubba Chandler used to be the number 1 pitching prospect in baseball. He slips to 14. He was 7. Looked a little better in the majors than I think many expected because he was so inconsistent at Triple-A. But the stuff is still really exceptional. I really like his fastball. The changeup works really well as well. And then at number 15 is this year's number 1 overall prospect, Eli Willits, shortstop of the Washington Nationals organization. It's interesting to me. Obviously, the Nationals are in the news this week because they hired a president of baseball operations after being, having searches and interviewing all over the place. Paul Tavani is the new president of baseball operations there. He's somebody who's set up a really good development system in the Boston Red Sox organization. He's talked about wanting to, quote, develop or create a player development monster with the Washington Nationals. I think Willits is going to be, the most closely followed case of that. Can they turn him into the 5-tool player that I think the Nats thought they were getting at number 1 overall this year? The power is still very much a question, but he played a couple games with Single-A Fredericksburg at the end of the year, put the ball in play a lot, got off to a really hot start at the beginning, tailed off a little bit at the end, but plays a quality shortstop as well. There's reasons to believe in Eli Willits. Now, how is he going to plug into this new development apparatus? We'll see how things go from here, but I'm very interested to follow his development. So that's the new top 15. Some of the biggest movers here real quick. In terms of positive movement, Raniel Rodriguez, catcher for the St. Louis Cardinals, moved up 38 spots. He went from 93 to 55. He's somebody whose power was very exciting coming out of the DSL this year, moved stateside. It's looking like at least plus power for him at the catching position. He actually finished up his age 18 season at high A. The Cardinals kept pushing him. They got him out of the complex. They sent him to the Florida State League. Then they got about a week of experience for him in high A Peoria to end the year. We'll see where he lands defensively. I think he's a little bit better than I was expecting coming into the year, but it's all about that bat for Raniel Rodriguez. Moving up 27 spots is Carter Jensen, goes from 66 to number 39. Somebody who we really believed in coming into the year. We made him a top 100 prospect, heard some good things from external scouts of like, hey, this is kind of a guy who scrapped together a nice minor league career and he continues to post as a catcher, which is always good. That's a demanding position. But then this year continued to take off of the bat. It looked like potential plus power from Carter Jensen. He's carried that to the major leagues. The Royals have said they plan to bring back Salvador Perez for next year, but it's clear to me that Carter Jensen, while he has some work to do in terms of blocking defensively behind the plate, the bat's going to play. And I think he hit a 482-foot homer, which is the longest home run hit by a Royal in StatCast history, which goes back to 2015. He's already doing that. I have some questions about like how is Kauffman Stadium going to affect him, because it's typically not a great place to hit home runs for left-handed bats. But if you're hitting him 480, That's out in all 30 ballparks, can tell you that right now. So Carter Jensen up to number 39. And then the third highest climber was Nolan McLean, who I mentioned earlier, going from 36 to number 11. Some of the bigger droppers, I'll just mention them and name. You can read the story. I break down why these guys slipped. But Leonardo Bernal, St. Louis Cardinals catcher, goes from 69 to 92. So that's a 23 slip, I should say. Jefferson Caro of the Milwaukee Brewers goes from 61 to 84, another 23-point drop. And then Rhett Lauder of the Cincinnati Reds goes from 60 to 80. He drops 20 spots after really struggling to stay healthy this season between various injuries. Forearm was involved, oblique was involved at one point. So tough year for Rhett Lauder. He slips 20 spots. For more on this, I did a full write-up on every player who climbed at least 10 spots or dropped at least 10 spots. I broke down the new additions, and I'll just say their names here real quick. They are Elmer Rodriguez Cruz of the New York Yankees, right-handed pitcher Jackson Ferris, left-handed pitcher of the Los Angeles Dodgers, and Emil Morales, a shortstop of the Los Angeles Dodgers. So that's what the top 100 is going to be. We're not going to do another update until we get to that big one for 2026 in January. But this is also not set in stone. I mean, we're going to talk to a lot more scouts this offseason. We're going to get a lot more feedback, and we're going to completely revote. So some guys who, when we were doing this, we thought, hey, I would move this guy maybe 5 spots, but not 10. That'll be reflected here in a few months. But for now, this is a snapshot, a more accurate snapshot than the top 100 we had just at the beginning of the week. All right. And now, as means of transitioning into our interview this week, we talked before about the MiLB Award Show and how that aired on Monday on MLB Network. It was also streaming on MLB.com. Ben talked about the Best Alternate Identity winner, but there were also a handful of player awards that were handed out as well. The Minor League Hitting Prospect of the Year. Now, this is purely for performance. It's not just based off who is the best prospect moving forward, who we project to be the best, but Connor Griffin won it, kind of going away for us. He had a 333, 415, 527 slash line, 21 homers, 65 steals, becoming just the, or it was just the 5th season of at least 20 homers and 60 steals in minor league history. So power, speed, the bat was there. Everything was there for Connor Griffin in 2025. He beat out Kevin McGonigal and JJ Weatherholt for that. The pitching prospect of the year was Jonah Tong, right-handed pitcher for the New York Mets. He led the minors in ERA at 1.43, strikeouts at 179, average against at 148. He also had the second lowest whip, I should say, at 0.92. Pitching at Double-A Binghamton and Triple-A Syracuse. I know the major leagues was a little bit of a struggle for him. And a lot of people I talked to in and around the game thought like the Mets had to do something. They had starting pitching holes, and they had 3 really good pitching prospects at Triple-A in McLean, Tong, and Brandon Sproat. So they had to turn to those guys. I think in an ideal world, you would allow Tong to get a little bit more time at Triple-A. But there's no doubting what he did in the minors this year. It was one of the most stellar pitching performances that I've seen in the minor leagues. The fact that he led in both ERA and strikeouts made him an easy pick for pitching prospect of the year. He beat out Trey Savage and Griffin Herring for that honor. And speaking of which, I wrote up the story about Jonah Tong and his special season. And I wanted to bring that to you guys. So here's the interview that I conducted with Jonah Tong, very much in the season, but after we had voted on the award, and we knew he was going to win. We touch on a lot of different things here. I want to kind of fill you guys in on a few things because it's more of a conversation. It's not exactly your typical podcast. Here's the introduction. Here's this. It was more of a free-flowing conversation. But what you might know about Jonah Tong, you might have seen those side-by-side comparisons of him and Tim Lincecum. The really over-the-top delivery. He drops and drives, so it's not like high like Trey Savage. It's still kind of a low release, but it comes out of a straight over-the-top arm angle. I've talked to him, or I've written stories about him in the past, and he's talked about how that came from his father. He used to throw a lot with his dad back home in Canada, and his dad always said, don't throw sidearm. That's how guys get hurt. So he kept going higher and higher and higher and higher and kept going until it was pretty extreme. but because he throws at that high angle, he's able to develop a lot of ride on that fastball. He's added velocity with it too. It's now been in the mid 90s, closer to 92, 93 last year. So he's added a few ticks. He gets into that here in this interview. But when I talk about IVB, that's induced vertical break, that's that additional ride. So you expect a pitch to be at a certain spot, given gravity, given speed, all that kind of stuff. IVB means how much higher is it than where you would expect it to be. So when it's 19 to 20 inches, which is what Jonah Tong will do, it's nearly 2 feet higher. And when guys talk about swinging at pitches like that, you have to think, like, my eyes think it's going to be here. I have to swing above the ball to actually hit it square. It can be really, really difficult for hitters to adjust to that. So I don't introduce the phrase induced vertical break, so I'm giving it to you guys now. IVB, that's what I'm talking about. Also, this interview was conducted at Citi Field. If you've been to a game at Citi Field, you know it's right next to LaGuardia Airport, which can lead to some pretty cool visuals. You'll see like a plane coming over the stadium at a low height. It can also be difficult to conduct an interview there sometimes, as this one was in the middle of the dugout, because you have screeching planes coming over above. I think it still comes through okay, but just so you're not concerned of like, what is that going on in the background? There might be some airplane interference. Apologies for that. It's just the nature of where we were able to do the interview. I'm grateful for Jonah for giving me so much time. This was pregame. It was not before it start, but he was able to sit down and chat with me for about 18 to 20 minutes. And because I thought it was such a thoughtful interview with really good answers and helps paint a picture of who Jonah Tong is as a pitcher and as a person, I wanted to bring it to you guys now. So here's me chatting with Jonah Tong, the Mets pitching prospect and the 2025 MiLB pitching prospect of the year. I know the year's not over yet, but how do you describe your success and how you view this year, at least between Binghamton and Syracuse?
I felt like, I said this a lot earlier, where it was like April and May, it kind of felt like I was pitching, but like not to where I wanted to be from a process standpoint. Like, sure, May I had a really good month. There's a lot of success in that. Like, but it just didn't feel sustainable, and it didn't feel like, if I kept doing what I was doing, I don't think I would have had the same level of success, taking away everything with the game itself. So like, once June, July, August, and like now even September, it's like, how can I dominate my process and make sure that like I'm setting myself up in the best possible way before I even touch the mound, at least from like a game standpoint. And I felt like that to me summed up my year, in the sense that like I dominated my process, I stuck to it, good or bad, and the results were going to be what the results are going to be. And I was fortunate enough there on the better side.
There wasn't a lot of bad in there.
No,
you say good or bad.
Like, I think like my last bad outing was against Texas here, from like that June to September mark, just because like it just felt like I was dominating my controllables, what I wanted to do, what my plan was, and trusting that that was going to be enough. And I felt like that's a really good stretch of games.
Yeah.
But yeah, from that point, like Bingham and Syracuse is more just dominating like me. If I can dominate the mental game and everything else about it, the results were going to be what they were going to be. And I was just, again, unfortunate that they're on the better side. But
yeah. And what's an example of something you were doing different in your process in June or July that you weren't doing in April?
So April and May, it felt very like I have to do this, because like everything on the outside, where it's like if I'm not you know, feeling like I'm dominating the game, like then I was like, oh, then what's going on? Like, I felt like I built such a prove me year the year before, and like continue that mindset, got to the point where it's like, okay, like who am I proving this to? Like, I proved this to myself last year that I could do it. It's the only person I really need to prove it to. So like, what am I really putting all my like heart and effort into? And then I kind of like, I remember I was just talking to like our pitching coach Dan, and I was like, I just feel like this isn't sustainable. I don't feel like I'm just like, I don't even know. So I like poured everything out. He just kind of sat there and was like, all right, let's just go over some quick numbers. And it was like first pitch strikes were down for those 2 months. And he's like, all right, why don't you just worry about that one number? Just worry about the first pitch, and then like every pitch after that is just, okay, one more pitch. Having the like, I'm going to give every ounce of my body and focus into this single pitch and seeing where that gets us. And it kind of like freed up my head from worrying about like everything else around me. And it was just like me and my catcher and somebody's in the box. Right. That's it. And then like pitching became so free and easy, and like you stop worrying about like, okay, what the scoreboard said at the end of the game, or you know, anything else. It's like, okay, did our team win? Great. If I didn't do what I needed to do, was it because of my process? Did I stick to it? Did I not stick to it? Was it something that was physically happening? Like, it's easier to like adjust to the game. But yeah, for me it was like bumming the first pitch and trusting everything else about it, instead of trying to be like, okay, I'm gonna try to get here, and like if I miss, it was like, oh my goodness, what the heck's going on? Versus like, all right, so what? Next pitch.
Yeah, move on to the next one.
Yeah.
And I've heard you talk plenty of times about the Bruce Lee phrase, be like water. Is that something you saw like gloves? There we go. All right, that's what I was going to add. So, what does that mean to you exactly? Because I know what like Bruce Lee's getting at, but like for you, why is it so important?
It's kind of like just building on his adaptability concept, and like my mentor in the complex, his name's Garrett Baker, and he kind of had this like whole Bruce Lee mindset of like, how are you going to like be like water, be adaptable in situations that really make you uncomfortable. So I remember it was just like, all right, from the first time we go, right? Like, we're going to go through this movement game or this movement exercise, and it's going to really make you like, why am I doing this? This is dumb. Like, what's the point of this?
Right.
And like flipping that and being like, okay, but like, how can I challenge myself through this exercise to start my day? And it was just building on that concept where it was like, good or bad, I'm still gonna be the same person, but like being able to be an adapter and again, like water, was kind of just like one of those like light bulb moments for me. Because if I want to be in this game for a long time, I'm gonna need to be able to like think on the spot, adapt on the spot, or else the game's gonna eat you alive if you don't.
Yeah. When did you first bring that phrase to you?
23 in the complex. I just was like, I was rehabbing from an injury. I think it was like May is when we were throwing, and I was like, first throw, and he just was like, hey, thoughts on this? And I was like, okay, cool. I remember I got a glove recently then, so I was like, you know what, screw it, let me put it on the inside of it. He thought it was hilarious, but like, every day looking at it, it kind of was like, okay, today I'm going to try my absolute best to like, just go with the flow of things. And like, that kind of like carried me through my rehab and into the off season, and like month after month, year after year, it kind of just formed in like this persona that like, no matter what this day is going to bring, no matter what the situation is going to bring, I know that I'm built enough to adapt on the fly and just go with the flow of things.
What were you rehabbing from specifically?
I was rehabbing with some nerve stuff around the time, but I honestly think it was just because I was so weak coming from high school. So it's just more like getting stronger was the main thing, and like being in the FCL, it's tough.
Right.
And I always like confused and like not really knowing like who I am as a pitcher anymore, and like he kind of took me under his wing and like opened my eyes to the world of development and baseball and trusting the process and stuff like that. And like I'm forever grateful for that.
Yeah. And one way you also altered this year was the changeup, just moving it around. Yeah. Take me through the timeline of that, like when they came to you, shifting it around in your hand, keeping the voltage grip obviously.
Yeah. It was during like a November camp. We had this like end of season meeting where it was like, hey, like we'd love for you to like explore some things. Eric Jaggers and our player development team was just like, hey, there's some guys who throw changeups like you. Here's an example of one. I don't remember who the pitcher was. He's like, you're still same grip, just flip the seam. I'm like, okay, I'll get a shot, because they always say is like the worst case scenario, we're just gonna go back to your old one, and your old one was fine as it was. I'm like, okay, sick. And I was playing around with it, and then once we hit a November camp, it was the first time I got to see data on it, and I was like, okay, like these are promising. These are probably better than any changeup I put in last year. And then just throwing that all off season, coming back into January and seeing the progression with it. It was tough at first, like commanding it. And then I think it wasn't until like May or June when I realized, like, oh, this is one of my highest strike percentage pitches. Maybe I should throw it a little bit more.
Just getting it in zone more?
40%.
Yeah. I was going to ask, because, like, the usage on it, like, ballooned from last year to this year.
Yeah.
Was it just personal confidence in it, or?
It was a little bit both, because I was like, hey, like, I'm struggling with early count strikes and, like, getting the 2K fast, and it's like, okay, well, let's take a look at the season report. Same meeting in May.
Oh, okay.
Or the beginning of June, and he was just like, well, you throw your changeup a lot for strikes, maybe you should start just throwing it more. And I was like, oh, that wouldn't be a bad idea, would it? So, hence we started throwing a little bit more, and, like, strikes shot up, attack zone shot up, and, like, it put me in better spots to put away hitters.
Is there something about the grip change that allows you to land it in the zone more?
I don't think it was necessarily the grip. I think it was just the comfortability of throwing the pitch.
Okay.
I wouldn't say like, okay, the grip improved the movement of the pitch more consistently. Right. So we're getting more depth on the changeup, and it's like fools the hitters a little bit more, but like nothing about, I'd say the grip affected execution, because I've executed pretty much at the same rate as my old changeup. And I think just building more confidence in it and realizing like it's not that different, so don't try to make it any different.
Okay.
Helped a lot.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, even in your last start, you went to the curveball more. Is that just going back to the bread and butter pitch for you, or what went into the thinking with that?
Yeah, the curveball was weird, because early in the year I didn't really have great feel for it, which is kind of new for me. Since like my best offshoot pitch, command-wise, and it's like, okay, well I don't have that right now. So shifting gears towards the changeup, I think helped improve the confidence in all my other secondaries, where it's like no matter what count, I'll be able to throw it competitively. And it was like weird, like as the year went on, I'd throw it like 4 or 5 times, but like the attack percentage went up or the effectiveness went up, and I was just like, okay, well, like, that's the weird trade-off where it's like I'll throw it less, but I'll have more confidence in it, which means I execute it better. And it was just weird. So like in a situation where my changeup was necessarily not there, I can flip switch to the curveball or the slider and like use that instead of just relying on my heater all the time, because you'll get beat doing that. And, you know, like being able to do that was huge for me.
Gotcha. And when you look back at the process changing or sticking to the process, was there one game where like this is where everything clicked? This is where everything was absolutely best.
Game in June. For the last game in May, I remember I was throwing in Somerset. I punched 11, and I walked the bases loaded in the second, and I felt like I was gonna throw up, because the morning of, like, I don't know what I ate or drank, but like I literally felt like I was gonna throw up. Like, every pitch, like I couldn't get over my front side, and I remember he's like, hey, like this is one of those moments we were talking about earlier, where like how are you gonna get through it? Are you gonna abandon what you have, or are you gonna trust everything that we try to work towards? And I remember sitting there, I'm like, all right. And I kind of got like tunnel vision from there, and then I went on to finish the game like 5 innings with 11 Ks against a solid lineup, and put our team in a position where we got a chance to win that game. And I remember just sitting there like, oh, maybe this process thing is going to kind of work out for me.
There you go. And just talking about like the fastball in particular, obviously the IVB is always going to stand out, but you added velo this year as well. Is that just a strength thing, going back to what you were saying about 23?
Yeah, probably. Again, I don't really know. I remember in spring training, I was just like, yeah, like I'm gonna let it eat today, because I think like it was in my progression where like I needed to build up towards in-season strength, and like I was about 100%, like I feel comfortable to do it. I feel like 96, 97. I was like, oh, this is sick. Like you kind of expect that jump in spring training. Just because like everyone's super fresh. Yeah. But then as the year went on, it just kind of held, and it was easier to hold too. So I think just a combination of like where I'm at physically, kind of made it easier to do that on a consistent basis. And yeah, I was genuinely shocked. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like I remember in Somerset when I hit 99 for the first time, I was like, did it say that?
Is that same game?
Well,
I know you guys played Somerset.
Yeah. I just told myself I'm just gonna let it eat. I don't really care. And then really enough, when that happens, you throw more strikes doing that. But like the week before, my friend Jack Leninger hit 99.4.
Oh right, okay.
And I was like, I can't let him throw harder than me, because he's been throwing harder than me all year, and he just let me hear it. So I just said I'm gonna get my best shot, and I had like 99.3. So he beat me by 0.1.
Oh,
I was like,
Well, when you have back-to-back years like you had this year, how much are you getting even opposing pitchers coming up to you and asking you about your style because of how unique it is?
Honestly, that's the kind of beauty of it, where it's like I'll talk to my friends more about it than I'll talk to opposing pitchers. So like my friend Mitch, Brad, and I, we train together all the time in the off season, so we talk almost daily. And it's not necessarily about what we're doing; it's just more about like checking in, making sure we're mentally all there. And I think having that person there with you along through it helps just like reset yourself and realize that like I've been doing this since November, October. Having that accountability partner was huge. But like I have other friends like Ziegler, Christian Scott, where I'll talk to as well, and just I don't want to say just talk, just have fun, like hang out, and that's the main thing. But like from a pitching side, like I'm always open. Anyone ever wants to talk, I'm always here. And I thought like the Futures game was pretty cool to see that. Like I remember talking to Thomas White and Jared Ritchie for the first time, and I mean they're first class kids. I should say kids, but they're first class human beings. It was really cool to see their process versus mine, and similarities and differences as well.
Yeah, and you mentioned Mitch Pratt. I mean, how much you guys talked about Team Canada, maybe?
So we talked a lot about his experience.
Yeah, I know it didn't go as great as maybe he would have hoped, but being on the team at that age,
he did everything in his power that day to try. And sometimes you're just gonna get beat, and that's the reality. It's okay. But we don't really talk about that part just because we were more focused in season.
Sure.
And with him being traded and stuff like that, like his focus shift towards like the new organization of this. So maybe we'll pick it up in the offseason, who knows? But I'm just really excited to see him here and just give him a really good life.
Gotcha. Yeah, and between you, Strode, McLean, you guys are all different pitchers, and you've all risen together here. What does that say just about the way the Mets preach pitching and teach pitching? That there are three different guys like you who can all have the success that you guys have had.
Baseball is a fun game where it's not your timing, and it's not always going to be how you think it's going to be, and sometimes it's going to work in your favor and sometimes it's not. It's really cool to see what the player development has done and changed over the years, especially like the 3 years that I've gone through it, or 4 years. And the results or the fruit from that are what you're seeing now. It's not even like, sure, Strode, McLean, and myself, like, we're a part of that, and we're in it. But you look at top to bottom what they did this year, like St. Lucie, Brooklyn, Bingo, Syracuse, like all these homegrown guys that are coming through are getting better and better each year. And I think it just goes back to the player development themselves and everything that they've done to put us in a position to succeed. It's been unbelievable. Like we talk about it all the time, like that Bingo staff and that Brooklyn staff that they had this year. It's insane. Like,
you mentioned Watson,
Santucci, Gordon, Gurdon, like you name all these guys. It's just like that's the future. That's the next phase of people, and that's the next. But at the same time, like we're all in together, and that's the beautiful part where it's like there's no level differences, there's no anything. It's like we're all just a bunch of guys trying to live out our dreams, and we are going to help each other through it all. I think that's beautiful.
All right, I've always wanted to ask you about this part. Just the Toronto Mets.
Yes.
You got was Mitch on that team too, right?
Yes.
Okay.
He played a level up than I did. But
I mean, you guys mirrored each other. Georgia Premier, all the draft league, all that stuff.
I copied him in that. I just went.
I mean, it's worked for both of you guys. I know.
Yeah.
But like, how? I don't want to say destiny, but like the fact that you were wearing a Mets uniform now, you went through that program. Like, was that a thing for you at all? The fact that it's
Honestly,
the same team.
It's hilarious because every time I'll come home and I'll be like, they have all this Mets gear on. I remember like myself in their shoes going through it. And I'm just like, well, I'm just wearing the bigger brother stuff of this now. And but no, it's a privilege, and it's something that like I'll never take for granted because this is everything I've ever wanted. And like realizing that as I've gotten older it's been truly a blessing.
Actually, one more, just about the Triple-A ball. You only got 2 starts there.
Yeah.
How much do you feel like it was just like, hey, showing your stuff can work for that change? Did you sense it? Did you feel any difference?
I mean, they're obviously different. The name on it's more like sure. Okay, now this is a real baseball, right? Sure. That's what you always tell yourself. But no, like it's cool to see that. Like, okay, you throw the big league ball. Do I need to make adjustments? Do I not? What are the differences? Sure, but you figure that out like as you go and you start getting more comfortable with it. But it's from like a stuff standpoint, you're gonna make adjustments when you need to make adjustments, and if it's something like, okay, like just a smidge more this way, fingers open a little bit, fingers close, like something that's gonna naturally happen. Because I've always believed that like you're gonna be able to adjust the baseball and your stuff's should mirror as close as possible. It definitely was a shock to realize how hard they are and how far they go.
Yeah, right.
Because sometimes like there's a ball hit to the warning track and like it's a pop fly with a minor league ball. I mean,
some people say it's like holding a cue ball, right?
It is.
Just because the seams are.
It is. It's insane. It's insane.
But I mean, it worked out pretty well for you. No, it's 2 starts. All right. Well, thanks so much, John. I really appreciate it.
Do you ever need anything else?
Yeah, we'll do.
What is natural? When you read natural flavors on a label, most people don't realize it's often not real food at all. Those hidden ingredients quietly work against how your body feels and functions over time. That's why Just Ingredients uses only real food ingredients, so you know exactly what you're putting in your body. Stop guessing. Start knowing at justingredients.us.
Saying goodbye on this week's episode of the show before the show, but before we get out of here, it is time for the latest and greatest edition of Name That Dude. This week, I am the Dude Knower. Benjamin Hill and Sam Dykstra are the Dude Guessers, and we will kick things off by telling you about this dude who was drafted for the first time in the 33rd round of the 1996 MLB June Amateur Draft from Darlington High School in Darlington, South Carolina, by the Toronto Blue Jays. He opted not to go. Instead went to Spartanburg Methodist College, where he was drafted the next year by the Toronto Blue Jays and fell 10 rounds. He was drafted in the 43rd round in 1997. I don't expect you guys to get it just based off of that. Don't worry.
I'm holding back on my guess.
Don't worry, we're not going crazy. But he made his debut. This 20-year-old kid from Darlington, South Carolina, went to Medicine Hat, Alberta to make his professional debut with the Medicine Hat Blue Jays of the rookie-level Pioneer League in that Blue Jays organization in 1998. 1999, he was in the South Atlantic League with Hagerstown and Tennessee. Actually, just with Hagerstown in that 1999 season. He was with Tennessee and Dunedin the next year, split time, Dunedin at high A and Tennessee at double A in that Blue Jays organization. That was in 2000. 2001, he was back at double A and triple A. 2002, he was at triple A for 100 games. Then he made his major league debut with the Toronto Blue Jays in 2002 and really was like a pretty established major leaguer from that point forward. He played starting in 2003, 119 or more games in all but one season through 2011. From 2003 to 2011. He spent the first 4 of those seasons with the Toronto Blue Jays, 3 of them with the Arizona Diamondbacks. I gave away that he's a position player, obviously, with the amount of games played. Either that or just wildly abused as a pitcher. 2009 with the Arizona Diamondbacks. 2010 with the Minnesota Twins. Did not remember that at all. 2011 with the San Diego Padres. 2012 bounced back and forth between the White Sox and Padres, and 2013-14 he actually finished his career, did not know this either, with a couple of Winter League stops in the Mexican Pacific Winter League and the Dominican Winter League. Middle infielder and a guy who was just like a very fun ball player. Had a lot.
No, middle infielder threw me off because I was.
Okay, let me put it this way. I remember him actually. Yeah, he is listed as a second baseman entirely throughout his baseball reference. I remember him as a second baseman. It's also listed on his baseball reference page that he played third and left field.
For some reason, I was thinking Eric Hinsky for a long time.
That's a good one. Yeah,
good one. It's a good one.
Shoot.
I remember this guy primarily as an Arizona Diamondback. He was like the last era of the D-backs, purple pinstripes, teal, that
man.
look.
Orlando Hudson?
Yes, it is the O-Dog. Orlando Hudson. Nice work, Sam.
There we go.
The O-Dog is the second coolest thing about Orlando Hudson name-wise, because the coolest thing, Orlando Hudson's full name is Orlando. Oh, I read it wrong. I thought it said Orlando Thrill Hudson, but it says Thill, Thill. Maybe that's Till. It might be like a family name. I thought it was Thrill. I was like, his middle name is Thrill, and he went by the O-Dog? Should have gone by Thrill. But no.
O-Dog is also just a
O-Dog,
tremendous name.
Such
though.
a good nickname. He was such a fun player to watch, man, for a while. Like, Orlando Hudson, for a minute, was a very... one of those guys that, like, let's say you're an East Coast fan, you don't see a lot of games where your team, you know, either of you guys, but Ben, especially you being a National League guy, you see your team taking on the Diamondbacks and you're like, oh God, Orlando Hudson, I forgot about. Like, he's just one of those guys you don't want to see in the opposing batter's box. He was a 4-time Gold Glove Award winner, a 2-time All-Star. And yeah, I mean, what a fun player the O-Dog was. I loved Orlando Hudson.
That's a perfectly good dude to remember.
Yeah,
I feel
just
like
a very Hall of very good. You know,
yeah,
11 years,
a 30-win
career
player,
30,
for his career.
30.9 over 11 years, like pretty good career for the O-Dog.
And just to circle back on something, Tyler, before we end, because I feel like I tantalized our listeners without actually giving them an answer. Scott Patterson was the Gilmore Girls guy.
Scott Patterson, right?
Did not play for Brian Snicker. He was with Anderson in 1980. Snicker was with Anderson in 1982. By 82, Patterson had made Triple-A in both the Braves and the Yankees system. To read more about that, Kelsey Hennigan wrote a story. She actually talked Scott Patterson about that. Just Google Scott Patterson, MiLB.com, Kelsey Hennigan. You'll get there. Worth checking out. But I think we reshared some of his quotes on MiLB social the other day too.
Yeah.
So it is that time of year, as I sit here wearing a flannel.
Mr. Autumn Man has
state of
returned.
Connecticut.
Sam Dykstra.
My autumnal powers are growing by the second. Many people rewatch Gilmore Girls this time of year. So if you see Scott Patterson on your screens and you want to learn more about his minor league career, go check out that story.
My wife and like 2 girls that I dated before her, they just rewatch Gilmore Girls all the time. It's like it's a year-round thing. But I will tell her,
together?
she'll be it's so weird. They have these watch parties.
Zoom
like,
is an incredible tool.
Yeah, but like the baseball connection is great. It's a great story. We love those stories at MiLB.com of random people that you had no idea played minor league baseball. Scott Patterson, by the way, also the Spongeworthy guy on the Seinfeld episode. That's what I know him from. And that'll do it. Whether you're Scott Patterson or Orlando Hudson or Benjamin Hill or Sam Dykstra, we have had some fun on this week's episode of the show before the show. You can get in touch with us, of course, podcast at MiLB.com. Send us a question, a thought, a comment. I sent a question in to a different baseball podcast that I listen. They answered my question. I feel like they owe us a question now, but we'll see. We're going to leave that, and we'll see if it happens. And if you're tuned in, you know who you are. Podcast at MiLB.com. And for Sam Dykstra, for Benjamin Hill, and for all the rest of us, thanks so much for joining us all season long. Of course, we'll be with you all off season long. But tip of the cap to the 2025 minor league baseball season. We had some fun. And for those guys, my name is Tyler Mon. We'll catch you next week.